weird. Never had to change my stream key before. All right, I got rid of the air though. Oh, I got people waiting to watch.
If anyone's here, we're getting started, and I actually saw someone had just submitted a question to one of my videos, so I thought it's a good one to talk through, maybe solve live, and then you know, it works out just fine.
Sorry, it's being like really slow. All right, there we go. It's loading up now. And I'm live from not New York, but Delaware.
I see you got William joining. Oh, did you mute your thing, Tom? The live stream?
I'm live.
All right. I know, but did you? Anyway, it sounds like you did. At first, I thought I heard us, but maybe someone else too. Just if you're streaming your own thing, you know, and it plays back, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. Besides the whole delay. William, just so you know, I muted you because you were talking. Not that I mind you talking, but I don't think you knew you were unmuted. But not a problem. This is the fun thing of doing stuff live, right? Of like, you know, it's a little more informal.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, and at first, when you and I discussed it, I'm sorry, John was trying to join with us also.
A bunch of people today.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. I want to get to my live so I can see who asks questions, because obviously that's important. But I see some people, my live stream is not available now. Great, that makes a lot of sense. I'll just go to my channel now.
I can go ahead. I actually got two things I want to kind of
Okay,
announce.
go for it.
Nothing
Cool.
too big.
Hi, Joe.
But the first thing is I actually changed my channel name. So I'm still Tab Nation. Before I was Tab Nation AutoHotkeys, but now I'm Tab Nation Automation. I think it sounds better, kind of Tab Nation Automation. It kind of flows. Plus, I'm, you know, 95% of my channel is AutoHotkeys, but I do other stuff. And I don't know if you've noticed, but recently I actually started uploading hardware videos where I'm doing like circuit boards, using a breadboard and stuff. So I just thought it'd make more sense to do that. Sure. And the second announcement is I'm uploading hardware videos. I only do them here and there. You know, I just show you how to create simple circuits. I found a way to actually have like input from my circuit, like with an RFD tag or something where I can scan it. It sends the ID, and then I have AutoHotkeys grab that information and then, you know, do whatever I want with it. So when I can, I'm still going to tie even the hardware stuff into automating with AutoHotkeys. So those are just kind of the two things I wanted to drop out there so people know those little changes that I made. And if you guys have any recommendations on any circuitry stuff, if you're interested in it, let me know.
Tom, I'm curious, and anyone, but I'm curious if you've done any Bitcoin mining and put together any systems. I know it's late in the game, but I'm still considering it, looking at it.
Yeah. I don't really mine anymore because it's gotten to the point where it's not worth it as much because so many people are doing it.
Right.
But thankfully, that's a big reason why, like, I was really into Bitcoin because I started pretty early on when it was only a few $100. So I ended up buying a house actually with most of it.
Let's plan a one-on-one call and we'll record it and maybe share it in your channel. Sounds like it's a better fit if you want to share it. But because I think I would love to talk to you about the ins and outs, because I have a couple friends that we're all looking at it, but I don't want to take up this call, you know, on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I know all about cryptocurrency. I was in it pretty early in the game. Wish I was a little bit earlier in the game. I'd be on an island right now, probably.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Did anybody that's especially live here at the meeting, since you're here, do you have any questions? I'm still trying to get to my live stream to see if anyone's there. Let's try it one more time the official way. That's weird. It says
Not there. Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a note about the reminder that I received after registering to this webinar. The link in it was, I think, to the wrong Zoom meeting.
I looked at the number. Huh. Okay. Anyway, I'll
anyway. So maybe there are some people waiting there, but maybe they'll get in from YouTube. But you're not on YouTube at this time.
You sure?
Are you? Okay, you are now. Yes, I just refreshed.
Okay. That's really odd because I looked at the end of the last 4-digit numbers. Maybe it's in the email. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have the right number. Or you can just join. That's
Yes.
this number. I don't understand.
You can join us directly in Zoom. It's ending with the 0366, the link
Right.
there.
But that's this room, isn't it?
That's this room? Okay, maybe, but it took me somewhere else.
All right, I'll study.
Well, we'll check that later. Yeah, maybe it's only me. Maybe, yeah.
No, I know you know what you're doing. I was in. Let me just so you guys will get a laugh. Let me show you what I was just doing. I told Jean and Tom I might be a couple minutes late or whatever, but this is what I was driving a few minutes ago, picking up these containers, which if I was standing here, my head goes to about maybe a little higher than that, like here. Like this is an enormous dually truck, and I'm picking up more of these containers that we're gonna get and sell, fix up and clean up and sell. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what they're. We're picking up another 50 total. So yeah, that's what I was doing. So sorry for not getting the email out earlier to remind people. But anyway, yeah. So hope everyone's doing well. So William or Matthew, since you guys are here, did you have any pertinent questions? You can unmute yourself if you have a question or go into the chat.
Sorry, too many windows open. How's everybody doing today? So I do have a question, a long-standing question I've had for a while, but I didn't realize today was the day for this call. So sorry, Joe. And the question I have is, it's probably not as complex as I might make it sound, but it's on a software called Navisworks. Navisworks Manage, which is an Autodesk software, and it has to do with. There's not a way to do quick keys on it without me doing, I guess it would be like fine text. This is the way I've been able to do some of the stuff in the past. And like I said, I really don't have anything prepared that I can show everybody, but I will make sure to have that next time.
Well, help me understand what's your goal? What are you trying to do?
Sure. So I can show you, I can share my screen real quick.
Not privileged stuff.
No, just my work. And this is kind of a large program, so it takes a second for me to open it up.
Should be able to. It should be at the bottom. They'll say like it's like a green arrow up.
Oh, there it is. Okay, it's been a while since I used Zoom. So it'll be this one. And let me just open up a quick random model here. Get you guys out of there. So this is a model coordination software where I come in here and this is a very small model. A lot of times I'll have like a whole building with a bunch of different disciplines, architecture, structural, electrical. This is strictly mechanical here. But AutoHotkey, Navisworks does have the ability to do some in already created quick keys, such as like, Control A would be one. And that allows me to add new files or new models to the software. And for the ones that and let me explain something. This program is actually divided into 3 programs. There's a free viewer, there's a paid for version, it's called Simulate, and then there's another paid for version, it's called Manage, and this is Manage. And Manage has this clash detective tool, timeline tool, and quantification tool. And so all of the pre-created keyboard shortcuts for Autodesk Navisworks Freedom, which is the free version, those are the only ones that are pre-made. So all the extra tools that are added onto the software for the paid for versions, there's no hotkeys made for it or keyboard shortcuts made for it. So what I've done for the most part is I will just come in here, and because it's, you know, like a lot of Microsoft Office type stuff, you know, I'll just hit Alt and then write a script that says Alt and then V, and then say, I don't know, V again for say viewpoint, and then hit enter or whatever, and it'll usually open up, you know, my, let's see if I do that again. It'll open up my viewpoints, you know, so it'll open up this window. But this tool here is probably the tool that people of my discipline use the most, and it is a clash detective tool. And let me see if I could just set up a quick test here. Yes, I can. And so I can say, you know, one trade versus another trade, and I'm looking for constructability issues here, and it gives me like, okay, you know, these things are touching each other, so like you got 2 different companies or 2 different disciplines that are trying to occupy the same space inside of a building, and you're going to get like this clash. And so I will spend a lot of my time, and like I said, this is an extremely small model, but I will spend a lot of my time throughout my day looking for clashes throughout a building. Let's say it's like an office or a new office being built, or you know, oil refinery with a lot of piping in it, you know, and I will have thousands and thousands of these clashes. And so I typically have to go through them like one by one, but there's no way for me to, like, without creating a hotkey, there's no way for me to access this interface without my mouse. So there's nothing built on into Autodesk Navisworks that allows me to access this without my mouse. I have created some scripts in the past, and I'm not sure if they're, yeah. So like you can see, maybe bear with me. You can see I've got some things going on here where you can see the letters up here kind of like moving really fast, but I can't do that with Clash Detective. There's no way for me to access this interface, this window here, using hotkeys. So I've used Find Text, following some of your videos, Joe. And the only problem I have with that is, 1, I can't figure out how to get the mouse to move over and back, and 2, that's extremely slow. So I kind of like, I've got to get a rhythm going where I know I'm going to have to like wait like a half a second for it to like bounce over and back, and for the mouse to like move across the screen. Usually I'll have this on another monitor, like on the other side of the screen, and Find Text has worked great for that. But regardless of the screen resolution, it's always worked. But yeah, I'd like to be able to use some of the you know, the, like, what do you call it, like simplifies and things like that, for somehow accessing the back end or the interface windows and window classes and buttons and things like that. But I can't figure that out, to be honest with you. It's foreign to me, and I'm not very experienced with all of that. So
yeah, no worries. Yeah, and that's actually, I'm glad you brought up simplifies, not that it's the tool to use, but looking for controls, right, is the very first, like, to me, if you can use the controls, it's a great sort of simple approach compared to a lot of other stuff. It's not terrible, right? And with AutoHotkey, if you can peek into those controls, it's amazing at how fast and accurate and reliable it is. It's a great, you know, like API approach. Because using Find Text function, you know, basically you're doing image searching and then moving the mouse and sending a mouse click and whatnot. And that, you know, is just prone to breaking down and not being reliable and slow, like you said. And it has to be visible. I mean, there's lots of things that just are negatives to it. Now, there's also the ACC library, which we could try, and using there's a tool, I think it's from Jethro, that you can peek inside and see if we can see these things. My guess would be we're not going to see the controls in this tool. I'm pretty sure about that. But the ACC library might work. And then there's the UI automation architecture as well, which unfortunately, even for me, that's really hard. And it's not, we don't have a great discovery tool built in AutoHotkey. There's tools that we can use, but there's no, you can hit like the default action, but those are also possibilities. And then there's other things like sending, post messages. And John or Tom, do you guys have any other things you'd throw out there to a programmatic approach other than?
Yeah, pretty much the order you set it in. I mean, worst case scenario, you can always do like, you're saying like you had troubles with the mouse going back. You can always use like mouse get position, I think it is, just to snap back. But yeah, that's going to be slow. I actually found a forum I'm reading right now about this exact problem that someone else had.
Yeah, and that is like the only one on the web. So it's probably like from back in like 2000 and maybe 10 or 2012, I think. This guy wrote an AutoHotkey script, and that's actually how I got started with AutoHotkey. This was my first problem that I ever came across, and I actually made a programmable keyboard and everything that I use on a daily basis, but AutoHotkey is awesome. I'm so glad that I dipped my toe into it by coming across this problem, but I've never fine-tuned. I've got this to where it works well enough for my daily workflow, but not well enough that I would actually feel comfortable sharing it with anybody, thinking they would be able to get along and be able to make use of it. And I would like to fine tune this enough to where I could maybe make it executable and share it with other people that are in the community that I am in and doing the same type of work I do, because this is a huge problem for a lot of people that do what I do, which is building information modeling. This is a common tool that people use, and it's just a drag on their daily workflow to sit here and go through all this junk and click on buttons and everything whenever they'd rather just keep their hands on the keyboard.
Yeah. And I'm seeing there are people on this forum who are asking, for the exact thing you're talking about. And it does look like it's from like 2012. So I'm guessing we read the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think it's the only one out there, but it was the best solution I could find.
And with you having thousands, doing the mouse move, it would be great to do it another way, because, a few seconds for each one is going to save you hours and hours, in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other ways for me to speed it up, but as far as, using the interface, and like I said, this typically my window looks like this. And so all my controls are on the other monitor. And when I'm doing this, I usually do it with an entire construction team, the architects and the engineers and all the construction personnel on site. And so when I'm doing this, I try to clean my screen so that they see this, but all my controls are on another monitor. So it just makes it really difficult for me to do a quick presentation without having to mouse around on my other screen. And so I try to keep my hands on the keyboard and keep everything going real time.
And you said there's a free version of this?
Yes, it's called Navisworks Freedom.
Okay. It's just always easier to download if we can't.
Yeah.
Well, is it truly the same program though, or it's something that
it looks exactly the same as this? Like I said, the only difference is it does not have these tools right here, this clash detective, timeliner, and quantification tool. It doesn't have these, which are really the powerhouse tools of this program. But the Freedom version allows other people to interact with the content that I create, or somebody like myself to create.
My point is, things might look the same when we're taking. It's something I never thought about as a benefit of taking the image search approach. But when you're taking the image search approach, it's perfectly fine if that's a whole different program and it looks the same. But if their free program is, in any way built with a different architecture and stuff, anything that we do showing like, here's how you use controls, or the ACC library, which is what I was trying to find a way to give you the link, then it's all for naught, right? If I download that demo tool, I might spend a lot of time playing with it and then find out, oh, that tool is very different than the one you're actually using. You know what I mean?
I understand your point. I believe that the architecture is very much the same, because I've dug into the DLL files on this program, and the only difference is these are basically like subprograms, and they're just omitted from the executable file. that goes out for the free version.
Cool. For whatever reason, I can't. Oh, there it is. It got minimized. Okay. I couldn't find my Zoom anything. It was weird. If you're interested in math, just for a quick fun test, where's my? So I love Zoom, but way too disorganized on stuff. So all right. So Matthew, chat. Matthew. Okay. If you're interested, Matthew, I'm going to give you a link.
Sure.
I don't know for certain that this is a fully contained file. It might be leveraging some an LIB, a library file on my computer, but I don't think it is. This is the ACC like discovery tool. I think originally from Jethro. I can't quite remember. Did you get the link there?
Yes, I did. Okay. So
just save it and then launch it. With any luck, it'll actually launch fine. Because this is a quick, easy test. We're not going to automate the thing, but it's kind of like the IWB2 learner tool in that it hopefully can highlight like, oh, here's an element, and it's a very quick and easy thing to just to see if we can peek into it with that.
Okay. So this is ACC viewer. Let's put this on the desktop. Sorry for my. Just paste that in there.
Now the ACC approach compared to the UI automation, there's this discovery tool, and then it gives you a path. Yeah, I was going to ask you why you named it MD.
A markdown file. I don't know because I'm used to doing that.
No worries.
Okay, there we go.
I forget who I was telling. I'm like, maybe it was John when you and I were talking last week. I'm like, when you're doing stuff live, even the simplest stuff, like it's much more. What's line 1?
Okay.
I always feel like I do my thing this way, but other people probably do it the other way, so they're judging me right now.
Oh, right. I watched an interesting video talking about why we say and stuff. What is all this crap? That should not have been in the file I gave you.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to do it the way you told me to instead of being weird here.
Apparently, a lot of the times why we say and is just because of nervousness, right? And we're trying to fill, our brain is trying to set, and we're trying to not look stupid. And so we throw out all these superlatives, or what, not superlatives, but fillers that
makes sense.
Yeah. And it was like really interesting of going, and I'm like, oh no, that makes sense, because generally I'm not terrible at throwing in uhs and ums, and I do them, but I've always been pretty good, and you slow down and it's like, okay, let's not worry about it.
I'm like that with my videos. When I first start, I'll say a few times, but then once I get the flow going, I stop saying it towards the end as much.
So Matthew, see that crosshairs in the top left? You can drag that over anywhere, and so see, oh, this is beautiful. So see how you can see that button, and now bring it into like the list view beneath it. And okay, so we can't peek into the individual ones. Now move it over to the side, but I don't think it's showing that whole box, so it's not gonna surprise me. But these other ones, this is a really good sign. Now go ahead and let go. And this is where it also okay, so see at the bottom of the ACC viewer. Oh,
sorry. Oh,
sorry. Let it resolve. That path, that is, quote, the path to that button, which we can then use in some other, and again, I don't want to go into actually programming this, but this is a nice, simple, easy way to say, hey, you know what? Compared to using controls, which I could have given you the simple spy, and we could have at least seen if it allows you to see it, but I'd be surprised if it does. This means like, hey, and from my experience, those numbers are pretty stable. They don't change all the time. Now, some tools, they do redo them, and it's all chaos, but you might even go up to your ribbon area and just to play with it and see if, but it's a great tool to see very quickly. And then if you want to show the ACC structure, the top right of it, this gives you, again, it's like the IWB2. It might take a minute to resolve because there's a lot going on there.
Wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah, and so see the thing where it says pane and then client and then scroll bar and then client. See the bottom, those paths. That's you could follow it and go, okay, so I'm at 1 6 1 1 1 2. Well, actually, you're on 1 1. But see how that matches the path there? Does that make sense? If you
absolutely, yes.
So this also helps you navigate without actually clicking on the buttons. You can kind of move around here and see, oh, well, here's, you click at everything. I think if you click something in the list, it'll put the rectangle around the button or item for you. So it updates it that way as well. No, what I was saying is, so click, just go ahead and get back on your main Clash Detective tool, right?
Okay.
And then from the ACC structure, pick something else from the structure and let's see if it actually updates the rectangle.
Yeah, you push like a push button or something.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. I say, don't do that. I see what you're
Right.
saying. Okay.
Right. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
I see.
So, yeah, this is, and here's the really crazy part, right? Is the ACC, which is the accessibility technology, has been obsolete for quite a while, right? But it is built into so many tools. It's still great. The UI, I want to say user access automation. Is that what UI automation? User isn't quite right. I can't quite remember it, but that's the one that replaced the ACC library. However, in AutoHotkey, we don't have a tool that's as nice as this for the ACC viewer. We have something, however, which is okay. But the real point is, this path at the bottom I pointed out, the tool doesn't have that. So we don't have, even though we can kind of peek at stuff and see stuff, we don't have an easy way to get the path to say, hey, go click that button. So at the bottom of the ACC viewer, see on the far right says show more. So here's the other thing, and just Maestruth and I, just the other day, we're playing with this. Even if we can't, for whatever reason, use the path to go later and say, click that thing, the location, see how it gives us the location? If you look like 2/3 of the way down the thing, it says location X 1655, Y 457, W 44, and H 26, right? It gives us the location of where that button is. And now this is all done, again, without image searching, right? And that's why I get excited about it, because it's not image search stuff. And so we could use this because we can return that location and then send a mouse click to that location, which still isn't as good as I would like. However, to me, it's far better than using image search approaches.
Yeah, I would try to stay away from that, only because this is such a malleable interface. And so I may have, several windows open here.
Yeah, but that won't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Oh, it won't matter. So if I do that, then that location is still going to stay the same. If I'm changing my interface and I guess basically the grid of my windows and how,
because the path doesn't change. Right. Now again, you'll have to use.
Well, yeah, you guys are talking about different things. He's talking about the XY coordinates. So those will change.
Oh, I see. Okay,
but the path doesn't change. You use the path to return the current coordinates, and then you send your click to those coordinates wherever it is.
Okay.
And the coordinates are relative to the window, not to the whole screen, I think. So it will stay the same even if you move your window.
I see. Okay. That should work though. I believe.
Yeah. But here's the thing, again, hopefully we don't have to use the coordinates, right? Rarely do I have to resort to sending mouse clicks. Once the ACC thing works, I can use that path to send the click directly to it, kind of like Calm in that sense, right? But sometimes it acts a little funny, and then you can still get the coordinates, programmatically get those coordinates and send a click there. And you do it every time, right? So if you just move it and then you go to hit your thing, you build part of the where is it? Oh, there it is. Go click it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So anyway, this was a quick, like I said, we're not solving your thing, but it looks really promising, because just the other day we were, well, and actually you saw in the list view, we couldn't see the individual things. Now I have and it's an executable from Microsoft that uses, it actually lets you use both the UI automation and the ACC infrastructure, and says, hey, which one of these you want to try? And kind of does the same thing as this tool does. But again, because we don't have an easy way, and I've actually asked Tank to be working on it, and he's been busy, but I have an easy way to like there's a text, a script from, I think, Fayu on get text under mouse. And that's the technology it's using, that UI automation approach. And it's amazing. Like I would be surprised if it couldn't, like if you click the button over Clash 6, it probably would come back and say Clash 6 or Clash 5, right? Like it peeks in stuff that like, wow, that's amazing. But again, we don't have a way to get the path, how to, and on that one, you can only do basically the default action, or you can set focus. But the this ACC thing, you get the name, the value, there's some other information in that location, and it'll tell you if there's a hotkey. Not that helps, but yeah.
Yeah, and just FYI for future conversations, something I didn't make clear. So a lot of the times when people are doing this type of work, they will not, you see how that clash represents something that is actually part of something else. So they'll say, well, that's not really a clash, and they'll see. I could do this a little better. Bear with me. So they'll come in and they'll actually select several things, and that will actually select several clashes. Usually it's not doing it right now because I've only got just the one small clash there, but what it'll do is it'll select like a whole bunch of these. So most people that do this type of work won't come in through here and do like one at a time. Most of their concern is these buttons here, these are pretty much where they're going to be focusing their attention, and they're going to be using it to group. A class is just like a small piece of geometry that may be part of another piece of equipment, and so they're going to grab like the whole piece of equipment instead of just that one little piece, and that's just going to grab like 20 or 30 clashes. And
now, Matthew, I'm curious. Do me a favor and use the ACC crosshairs. The clash that when you clicked on it, it popped up on the left. We can see the thing. I'm just curious if that is also available. Not that you'd use it, but no, the actual thing on the image, if I noticed when you were clicking them, like that blue box kind of popped up. Okay, it's not. And that doesn't surprise me. It would have surprised me. I just wanted to check that because
shoot, that would be so cool. That would be awesome if it did that. Possibilities would be endless.
Cool. Now we did there's 2 webinars where we discussed, the first webinar we discussed various ways to connect to programs, and we covered controls and sending mouse clicks, I think, and then the ACC library. And then the second one, because Jackie he couldn't make the first one if I remember right, because I was just doing it live. And then the second one, Jackie was there, and so we were actually writing code with the ACC library and showing how it can be finicky. Let's put it that way. But it's a great thing to have, of at least, it's like I said, there's that video, if you haven't seen it, of I have 17 different ways to programmatically interact with programs, right? And this is one of my go-tos after controls. And if the other one I was going to say, and I tried Googling it, but I don't think there's a COM object available, unfortunately, because that'd be my first stop.
So, and I don't know if this is something I can, unless anybody has anything else that they're really want to get into, I do have a quick question about interfaces like this. So this is Unreal Engine Twin Motion, basically looking at the same model. And with some of the more archaic interfaces, Windows type interfaces, it's pretty simple how things are structured. When we get into stuff like this, some of the more modern interfaces, I'm confused as to how any type of automation is ever done on something like this. Has this, I'm just bringing this up for sake of conversation. Has anybody here looked at some of these more newer, I guess, almost web-based viewer type interfaces that it seems like the whole window itself is
yeah, just like one large interface.
Well,
if you push Alt, do you get any options? Or is it just what you see?
I don't even think that. Yeah, usually like I would think that, and I don't. So
why don't you bring up the Windows Spy tool and let's see what, because that's a great, it's built in AutoHotkey. Anything running, you can go to the icon and then, yeah, perfect. And let's just click and let's see what the background of this, just click somewhere.
Yeah, I get one.
Because sometimes they'll be using the like Chrome or something infrastructure, right? And that's why I want to see what if this thing was actually using some sort of a browser to render, but it doesn't look like that. I don't recognize anything here. So
yeah, it seems like a lot of programmers are getting into this ReactOS type interface, and it kind of makes me wonder with AutoHotkey, like, what's the future for working with some of these newer interfaces? Like you said, they're basically are Chrome interfaces. ReactOS is basically, the way that programmers are making web-based interfaces work as desktop applications, So yeah, exactly. I think we're on the same page there. And yeah, I don't see anything changing here,
No, and yeah, it's but I'd still say, and maybe you already did you drag the ACC library to it?
Yes. Try it again. Just
okay, that's not grab, which doesn't surprise me. So some tools built like in Delphi, depending on what their language behind them was, or if you recall, you're old enough, I'm sure, maybe you weren't doing this then, but for a span of maybe 10 years roughly in there was the Adobe Flash stuff, websites were built with that. And it was every time when I would be trying to automate a website and all of a sudden I'd see it's built in Flash, I'm like, an expletive would come out of my mouth because I'm like, yeah, oh my God, you can't do like anything with those. I never found, other than back to sending image search, which again, it's not that that's quote unquote wrong. It's just, you shouldn't start there if you don't have to, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. You're not really getting into the back end of anything. Whenever you do, it's all front end, and it's not even programming at the slightest. So,
yeah. But here is something I want to mention. If you're doing something that really is, let's call it a browser, but whatever you want to call it, where the work is actually being done on the server, and you're doing something here. You could theoretically look at your network traffic and see the actual API calls that are happening and possibly be able to figure out, oh, when I click this button, this is what's sent, right? And possibly be able to fake that, simulate the traffic. So you're not working with the interface itself, but you're sending the traffic that would have represented that. And it's just kind of a,
that makes a little sense. I'm not saying I completely follow all that, but yeah, I fundamentally, I think I understand what you're saying. So I have noticed that in the past that there's been some conversations between you or video presentations between you and is it Geek Dude? Yeah. And so there he came up with some, I believe it was like Selenium web automation alternatives.
No, it was Chrome. He's written a Chrome class, which is amazing. I used Selenium for a bit, and then when I heard about Geek Dude's Chrome class, I stopped Selenium cold because it was such a better, approach than dealing with Selenium with AutoHotkey. You had to install this version, and it was really persnickety at the install, and then it was still kind of confusing in programming it. And with Chrome, you're straight up using Chrome,
Another problem with that is you have to be in admin mode, which a lot of people are using these for their jobs, and they're not allowed to be an admin on their work computer. So Selenium for a lot of people just goes out the door if you're using it on a work computer.
Yeah, it's funny you say it. It's part of my prerequisites in a job interview. I have to have admin rights, or I don't take the job.
It's actually, Matthew, it's funny, but I started a job. I quit TI for a year, and I went to Brinks, the armored truck things. And I didn't realize, because I don't know why, but we have access to all this financial stuff. And so they were, they wouldn't, that wasn't part of, they wouldn't let me, by default. So thankfully my boss had to argue and argue and argue. And I finally got admin rights because I'm like, I can't do my job without this stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's a really good point to bring up ahead of time before you take the job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that being said, I mean, I would be interested in the future. I don't want to take up this entire meeting, but I would love to see more, and I'll check out those YouTube videos as well. On the Chrome interface and everything that Geek Dude has done, because I think with a lot of the stuff we're talking about, like the ReactOS or the Chrome interfaces, a lot of these programs that are being developed. I mean, for instance, I have a encrypted email, which you guys may have heard of, which is like Tutanota. This is it is essentially Chrome. It's a Chrome window, and they call it their desktop application, but it's Chrome. It's a ReactOS.
You can see it. You have Windows Spy still running. You can see right there. That's what I was hoping to see, is Chrome widget win fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, this actually is just a Brave window. I should have actually opened up the desktop application, which
gotcha. Okay.
But there's no difference though. There's absolutely no difference other than the border on the window. There's no difference. It's the exact same interface. So it's just a window in the Chrome. A ReactOS type interface. So I'm seeing so much of that, and I guess it's kind of what I'm getting at with my question is, as we move forward into the future with this type of stuff, and you're saying things like the ACC library are being, well, it
was deprecated a long time ago.
Okay, so already have been sunsetted, so to speak.
But people still build it in. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, but yeah, it's still available in a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking forward down the line. How am I going to continue to leverage a tool like AutoHotkey 10 years from now? Maybe, hopefully, it'll still be usable.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to bring up with doing the Chrome.ahk thing from Geek Dude is, and that's what he discusses in the videos with me, is you're really doing a lot of stuff with JavaScript and not Auto. Even though you still use AutoHotkey to drive it, it's much more programming in JavaScript. And compared to doing stuff in IE, it's much more complex. Like doing stuff in IE is so simple. It's crazy. It's a shame that we can't do it still like in Edge. Maybe someday Tank's hopeful that they'll create a COM object for Edge. That'd be amazing. Hopefully that happens. But right now, that's why most of us are using Chrome and automating Chrome with the Chrome class. Although this is also, Tom showed me a couple weeks ago, and I played with it a lot. And I could probably do a little demo here, but the what's it called? Auto
Control Manager. There's still a little bit of JavaScript involved, but it's kind of nice because you don't need admin rights as long as you can download a Chrome extension at your job. And the JavaScript's pretty simple. If you know AutoHotkeys, it translates pretty easily to understand what you're doing, what you need to do. But yeah, it was a really cool way. I had to do it at my job using that a lot of times when we moved to Chrome. And, I've used Geek Dude's thing, but it can be a little daunting sometimes. So this is kind of my beginner solution for most people is what I came up with.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't know you actually got a chance to check it out.
Yeah, I was doing what I ended up doing, and I even wrote them and said, hey, is there a way to do what I wanted to be able to do was to programmatically interact between the two and pass variables instead of just the clipboard. And they said, unfortunately, no. But because that tool, I don't know why they took this approach. Maybe they just didn't know AutoHotkey well enough, but they're like, yeah, you can, with the tool, you can automatically write to a file, locally, and then use AutoHotkey to monitor for that file and then read it in and, read in how you would. But to me, the fact that you can also in that tool write to the clipboard, and with AutoHotkey, we can monitor the clipboard change stuff. I'm like, I would just use the clipboard, and it just I don't like writing the files is my thing. But in AutoHotkey, it also, and I don't know if you do this, Tom, you can read instead of writing like how in the demo you did in your video, you can, put your JavaScript in the thing, but you can say just point to a file. And so what I thought, like in AutoHotkey, I can use AutoHotkey to literally write my JavaScript file and then trigger that tool to go read the file, run it. And the nice thing is that tool is basically connecting you to the DOM to execute your JavaScript code, and then return it back to AutoHotkey, right? So I'm like, this is,
I haven't tried it that way. I'll have to play with that. What I've done with the clipboard too, to kind of expand on what you were doing, is, with AutoHotkeys, what if I'm, doing something else and I change the clipboard? I don't want it to start running. So what I've done with like my clipboard and like JavaScript is I'll put some like keyword in there. It'll be like AHK.
Sure. Right.
And then I just have it say like, if clipboard contains AHK, then
absolutely. Right.
So it's kind of like an ID I'm throwing in there that AHK is only going to recognize when the JavaScript puts it in the clipboard versus just the clipboard being changed at any point in another program.
Yeah, what I did a video just recently where I have it monitoring the clipboard, and first it says, hey, let's check to see if what's in the clipboard, when something new comes in, is it text? Because you can actually tell if it's text or if it's a picture or whatever else. And hey, if it's text, then let's look for, certain words. And then if it does, then I do something, I was basically uppercasing and getting rid of the www in my stuff because I don't want that in my links. But yeah, it was, anyway, it's a very similar approach on how you could easily automate it. But you're right, put in keywords that only you are gonna, it's only gonna be there because you put it there, right, to avoid false triggering.
And I've done like weird like strings where I'm just like A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm like, how often am I going to put that into a clipboard?
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Matthew? Also, now, Matthew, have you tried the automate my task?
I don't know.
So let me.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I have.
We
talked about it a few times.
I've used. Obviously, I used Find Text for a while, and even though Find Text to me, it's really cool in its simplicity in a lot of ways, it really bugged me that it didn't have stuff to automatically like move your mouse and click a button. So I wrote some, little additives to it, but then it also was just not complex enough. So I worked with Maestriath to build. Now the normal version is black. I was working with it because the fonts weren't coming through really well. So this one is a little, I'm working on, I might release it here in a bit, but I can hit F1. I'm going to say, let's look for, whatever. I'm going to click this, move away. Now I can say display matches. Hey, look, it found only one. Otherwise I'd see more of them. If there were more, I could tell it which one to match. And then I can say, let's do a left. Actually, let's just move it there. And let's restore the position. So I'm going to hit test. So it moved. Oh, that's interesting. That's funny. That time it didn't restore the position, which I'll have to, maybe that's only on the left. Let me try if I do a left. Oh, it did it. It did it so fast. It moved the mouse there and back, right? And this is, so I can choose what action to take. And this is sending, it's sending a control click by default because hopefully there's a control behind it. But if that doesn't work, you change it to an actual click, and then it'll literally send a mouse click. But let's say you wanted to send text to something. Let's bring up. We'll just start site. So, yeah, I'll pay attention. And thankfully, those things change every day, so that doesn't matter.
I'm already getting super excited about this. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just like Find Text. It just has a little more functionality built into it. So I'm gonna delete that step and hit F1 again. Now it's set up where let's say I want to type here next to the one, right? So, but the problem is, how do I can't click here because it's a big thing. So I'm gonna look for the one. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm doing this is the display matches stuff. But let's delete that step. Let's say I want to type, right? So I'm going to hit F2. So F2, and now it says, what do you want to look for? I'm going to look for this, move away. Okay. Now it's saying, where do you want to type? So basically it's going to use that as an offset. So I'm getting a position here. So I'm going to put it down here in F2. Now because it wouldn't actually type there unless I put some returns, right? So now if I say, hello, let's display matches again. Oh, it's not finding it. Oh, you know what? I think the title, let's get rid of this. Yeah, okay, so see now, it's finding 1 and 2. But it's still, I want to anchor off the first one, so that's fine. And I'm going to hit test. Oh, look, I have the select all built into it. So even though it did what I wanted, but it does the select all first by default. So I got rid of that. Let's try it again. So see how it did the typing down here instead of up here. When you hit select all, it came in, clicked here, said select all, and then pasted the hello, right? But normally, if we were doing something like in here, that's what you'd want. And anyway, once you're done with this, then you can click export, and this gives you the command that then you then paste. That's your AutoHotkey command. So that just becomes part of your program, right? And you can do your next step or just write something else. It doesn't matter, right? And you can actually add steps. So we could do a next step. So let's just do another one. Let's say we're going to here, F1, F1. And I'm going to again get rid of this because that, that would be changing. So that's a bad thing to have in there. And what I don't recall, so display matches and test, it just tests. Oh, it does both. That's what I wasn't sure about, is apparently it does every step when you do the test. So you get the idea, right? I normally just use it when I'm trying to automate something quickly and I don't have an easy way to do something with either COM or whatever. I'm like, this is because I don't like image search stuff. And actually, again, if there's a control behind it, it'll send the control click, which is what I loved about this, because find text doesn't do that. Find text is always image. This says, hey, if there's a control that AutoHotkey can identify behind where I am, send the control click, and that way you can actually even have things minimized and they work. But yeah, it's a cool, not the end all be all. Honestly, if I can ever get a UI automation tool to work, that'll be to me the holy grail, because it's really robust. Oh, you know what? Hey, while we're here, all right, hold on.
Hey, Joe, do you have a link to that for your
yeah, I'll post it in the
I have a few people asking for it.
Yeah, just AMT, the Automator /AMT.
There you go.
Look at so that'll get you to it's a pretty link, but it'll get you to the page. And I have videos on it. Again, the one you'll download is the interface is black, and on my screen when I like, actually, I think if I didn't change my hotkey. So this is how it'll pull up for you. But see how this is kind of fuzzy, for lack of a better term? I was studying this code and I can't see any difference in it. But when I changed it to gray, that went away. So I'm like, all right, I'll just, maybe I'll change it to gray.
Are you sharing your screen, Joe?
I didn't stop anything.
Yeah,
So weird. Oh, okay, sorry. So see this? Yes?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. So see how this is kind of, it just looks a little weird. Anyway, the gray version that I was running earlier, hopefully you saw that. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
I think the gray one just looks a little bit better. But yeah, it's a cool, overall simple to use tool.
I like simple.
Yeah, it's not, again, I don't like image search stuff, but it's pretty handy.
I'll definitely take advantage of it. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, sorry. So let me see. Actually, it's in the same. Nope, that's not the right folder. That's not the right folder. Hold on. I thought I left it open, but let me navigate to it. So HQ functionality here. UI interface. Now this tool, this inspect tool, this is the one, this Microsoft accessibility, another A, whatever in the world that is. This is the one that, this is using the ACC library, right? Actually, I like this one's pretty good too. So see how it's highlighting the stuff? It works a little differently than the other tool, but you get the idea, right? Now this I can change to UI automation. And even though it's going to kind of look, everything that we're seeing is the same, it's using that different technology to peek behind there. Now, again, in this tool from Microsoft, it doesn't give us the path like that ACC library did. But yeah, this is the inspect tool that I found, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But again, in AutoHotkey, until we have a way to uniquely identify it and trigger the default action, it's, kind of for naught at the moment.
Hey, Joe, when you get a second, I got a question coming in for you about your program there.
Yeah, what's up?
I guess a few people are actually downloading it probably right now and starting to play with it. Someone wants to know, how do you add the next step?
You just finish with the first step. So
it
I'm-
automatically just defaults to the next one.
yeah, right. So and actually, let me say, well, I wasn't planning this, but so F1, you're going to move to whatever it is. Let's say I want to hit this, and then I need to move away. See, and the tooltip tells you got to move away, because sometimes when see the color change, if I left it here and then I move away, it wouldn't be finding the right thing, right? So move away. Now it's going to look for it. Display matches. Oh, good, it found it. Test. Okay, I think it actually worked. And now I'm ready for the next step. So I would hit F1 again. F1, and now it would do both of those, apparently. Oh, look at that. And look at the man. And again, with this, I believe it actually is, oh, I'm doing a left. It's not doing the actual click. So those were control clicks. And that's why it's Johnny on the spot very fast and would be very accurate overall.
Oh, thanks.
Yep. Let me try to get back to the, oh, there we go. I don't see any other chat, anything, but cool.
I had a guy who was asking about JavaScript and AutoHotkeys. It's been a long time since I've done it, but correct me if I'm wrong. You got to create like a COM object, and basically you put your JavaScript into a variable, and pretty much that's how you do it. It's a whole thing I could get into, but you just kind of do that and do like object.execute statement JS or something like that. Yeah, it is possible to do. I can maybe do a video, get something scrapped together with that. It's been a while since I've done it, so I'm kind of, I mean, it's basically the same thing as like using COM objects in Excel, but you're sending the variable and executing it.
Well, and what I was going to say, Tom, is I want to take a step back and say, is he referring to when we were talking about using Chrome and we're playing with JavaScript, right? That's different than executing JavaScript, right? Which I think is what you were describing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was asking him. I haven't got an answer where he's using it yet.
Yeah, and
I know, like, depending, where you're using it, comms versus. There's a lot of ways.
And I'm still sharing, right? Because.
Nah, you're on your video or a camera only now.
So.
People are liking your program. People are playing with it.
Cool. Yeah, it's not terrible. It's not. I'm not embarrassed to say that that I'm behind. Maestria did it. I just kept saying I wanted to do this and that, and he implemented it for me. And of course, I paid him. But I thought I had it here, but I let me see somewhere in here. There we go. Auto control is that one that Tom had mentioned, to me that I had played with. This is the.
And as far as I know, I've never seen anybody else ever use this before. And sometimes, honestly, with this program, depending on what you're doing, you might not even need AutoHotkeys. But if you're doing like what Joe was talking about with passing variables, then it's awesome to use it with.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. I'm trying to remember how I thought. Here we go. So this is the actual JavaScript. And the other really cool thing once you start doing browser automation is you can, instead of doing the stuff in here, you can hit Control-Shift-I and bring up your developer tools, and then switch over to the console, and you can type freehand here and test before you do this. Test it here, right? And it'll actually execute it on the screen. It'll return errors, this and that. It's really handy. But you're doing JavaScript there. The other thing to remember is within like this tool, you don't start off with your pointer. It's straight to the document. So that's why these two have document, this and that. I think that is my home page. So if I come up to here and go to the Automator, and then what was it? Crap, I shouldn't have gone there on that page. So left control, left shift B. So here, left control, I have to look left shift B. And now sometimes actually the other thing I learned, and I don't know if it is Tom, it will actually tell you these errors. It'll try to execute it. Let me clear that. It was trying to do something, it looked like. Left control, left shift B. unscript, and that should actually run, that script. Now, what Tom mentions in his video is and use AutoHotkey to send this key combination, right? And that's the benefit of having AutoHotkey running, and you can do that. But again, in mine, which is here, oh, here we go. So here I was pointing it to a local JavaScript file, and my plan was an AutoHotkey to write the file, and then have this run that script, and then return. Actually, let's because this had some stuff in it. Forgot. Yeah, that's not a. Oh, that was the results. Yeah. Yeah. I was playing with a web page to see if I could automate it and then save it to a file. That was the saved file. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it right now. But you get the idea of you can execute JavaScript. You can have a hotkey and execute JavaScript, and then just from AutoHotkey, you're triggering it.
And I have two videos where one is like inserting data, I think, and then the other one's like how to press buttons and navigate. Let me see if I can get that up.
Yeah, and and I don't know, Tom, if it's just you were doing it on the fly and whatnot, but this is where well, I can launch IE. But I have to, unfortunately, launch it as an admin because I have this other tool installed. And then I can launch the IWB2 learner. What? Why is it not launching? I was going to demonstrate something, but I swear that's my hotkey for launching my tool. Let me stop sharing for a second. Let me figure something out. Anyway, did anybody else have any other questions on anything?
Professional.
Oops. Here's the link to that one video, just in case anybody wants to dive deeper. There's two of them. Yeah,
and I get a lot because I was fortunate enough that Geek Dude, spent quite a bit of time with me making those Chrome videos because it's over my head, some of the stuff they're doing. But people will ask me like, hey, I try to launch this and I can't connect to my profile, or I can't do this or that, or it's not returning a 0. And I'm like, yeah, it can be a bit finicky, and you really got to be a decent programmer to figure out what's going wrong. And that's where I'm like, even if I have to install this extension, to me, that's okay, because it's on my computer and I can install the extension and then I can easily execute. And Tom's right, the JavaScript itself isn't overly complex, but learning the DOM, and that's what I was trying to demonstrate with the IWB2 Learner tool, because it's a little more user-friendly for that. In setting, instead of in at least one of your videos, Tom, you were setting the focus and then sending keystrokes. But what I wanted to demonstrate was just setting the value instead of sending keystrokes, right? Or you can get the value, and it's just programmatically, it's far more faster and accurate, right? And you can set, you're not, again, sending keystrokes isn't wrong. It's just more likely to have issues, right? Compared to doing it the other way. Let me try to get back to my YouTube channel, see if anyone was.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with some of my chat. It's hard sometimes. Thought we had someone else on here. Are they still around? I forget the name that was on there.
Yeah, he dropped out of Zoom at least. John, have you? I don't know if you're still there. Let me know if you are.
Might have stepped away real quick.
So let's see if we can inspect. We'll use this tool, which this is where, and I have a Chrome tool I built for inspecting, but so it has a class and a name. I was hoping for an ID, but we could let's go back to the console. And so here we're going to say, well, that's not, oh, here it is. So document.get.
For Matthew's thing, I don't know why this just popped in my head. Oh man, what's that program that it's going to be on all Windows computers? It might already be. What's it? Power?
Yeah, the
Power Automation Desktop. That works really well with stuff that are just like Chrome. I've used that in Chrome and it's amazing. And it almost does like an image search at first, but grabs all the information. That might help you a lot, Matthew. I would look up. Let me make sure that's the right name.
Yeah, there's a steps recorder that is already on Windows 10 that's built in that you can use it. And then there's I think it's the Power Automate from Microsoft. I believe it's using the UI automation approach, but it's all GUI driven, which just to me drives me batty. However, I believe it's on the AutoHotkey forum. It might have been Reddit maybe it was Reddit. Someone demonstrated how you can get the syntax behind the scenes and then manipulate the syntax back to say you're programming instead of creating stupid GUIs and going through a crap load of GUIs to try to write your program, which to me is just, once you start programming, it's just so much slower and ineffective to do stuff.
Yeah,
me myself, Power Automate, I thought that was a
Power Toys, if that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, for SharePoint is what I was going to say. That Power Automate, I thought that was a SharePoint plugin.
I mean, it might be a plugin, but I mean, it's basically just it's like its own program. It used to cost money. They decided to go free, and then they made the announcement that they're just going to auto install it onto anybody who has Windows 10, which was pretty.
It's Power Automate.
Yeah. So it might already be on your computer.
Is this what you're talking about here?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've actually got a Udemy course that I bought on this a while back when we started using it at work, and just kind of became one of those things that we never pursued. And so I'll check it out. I'll spend some time with it. So, I mean, for SharePoint and some of the more web-based stuff, it's pretty awesome. But I didn't know it extended out into other platforms.
Joe, if you can share that link with him or just your chat, it'll give you a real quick intro to how I've used it before.
Which link?
It should be in the Zoom chat.
Well, he's in Zoom.
Oh, that's right. He is in Zoom. I was like, send it to him on the YouTube chat. That makes more sense. Yeah, that second video right there is just kind of an intro if you want to watch that later. At least give you kind of a basic of what it can do. I don't dive too deep into it. But it's a cool tool. It's free now. It's pretty powerful. I like Joe said, I rather code.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get there as well. I try to spend the time, put in the work, and learn how to do things, I guess, the right way, so to speak. But sometimes I just get overwhelmed with things that I actually have to do for my job. So this is great if I can quick band-aid, so to speak. So, and it's great that I found your channel as well. So thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I got a few questions coming in here. I'm trying to read through them. Some of them I can just answer with a simple yes or no. Those are the best questions. So this person is just asking for libraries, like, do they have to be in a library folder? I mean, if you want to keep organized, you do something like that, put it where the script is, but I mean, they can be anywhere on your computer. They could be on the C drive, your desktop, as long as you point with that hashtag or #, depending on your generation there, library, and then the file path. So you can put it wherever you want. Yeah, but if you want to keep organized, yeah, have a library folder.
Well, I mean, here's the thing is, especially, it doesn't do this in version 2, right? But version 1.1, which, version L, you can put it in one of 3 places, and AutoHotkey will automatically search there for you, right? Which that's what I do, is I don't use all the includes. I just put it in my default library, and I don't have to use an include, right? And it's awesome because it automatically goes and finds it for me, and it's just simpler. But the other big thing is, if it's a technology you're going to use a lot, why would you want to have that? And that's what drove me nuts in Python, even though you can do the same thing in Python. But they're like, oh, create, download a new instance of Python and put all your what do they call them in Python? Maybe they call them libraries, but like you ended up having like 20 installations of Python with the different libraries, and it was so confusing of what was where. With AutoHotkey, I put my default stuff in my library, and then I use it for all my scripts. And it's great because then I have one instance of it, and if I make an update to it, I don't have to go change it everywhere. I change it in one spot and it updates everywhere. So using your library, and that's just one reason. The second one is you can have multiple functions inside one file, like my Excel function library, and you can start them all with the same couple letters and have an underscore or whatever you want, but up to the first underscore, and then it'll automatically look in that file, across the different functions in that file for you, which is a great way to have, and you don't have to have one function per file.
So when you say library, and I'm just trying to make sure I understand this correctly, for my own future reference with AutoHotkey libraries, when you say library and you equate it to what you're talking about in Python, would you say TK enter for a graphical user interface, import TK enter,
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's a group of functions, right? And that doesn't have to be. That was one, and I forget what I was doing, something with Maestriath, and I don't know if he did it or someone did it, and they did an include where the include was just another file and it wasn't functions. And I'm like, what? And in my head, it was always functions, but I'm like, oh, it doesn't have to be functions. Just in my head, that was what a library was, but it clearly doesn't have to be. So here I have AutoHotkey installed under my bprogs AutoHotkey _L, right? That's where, if we go here, we'll see AutoHotkey.exe, right? This is where I've installed AutoHotkey. Under there, you can have a folder called lib, and here I have a bunch of files, right, that I use in a lot of my scripts. You can also have an lib folder under your local, where your local script is. It'll search there, and then also under your My Documents AutoHotkey lib there, and AutoHotkey will automatically search there. But to Tom's point, you can just use an include directive, and it'll automatically, go wherever you give it that path. It'll go find it and pull it in.
That's very helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So like here, like define text, I still have it, right? And I have my automate my tasks. I put those in my library, and then I don't have to have that function in everything I do. I just call the function, and it's always the same, from every script I use. And then with Studio, what's nice is it will automatically, let's say I create a new thing. I don't even know what this is, right? It doesn't really matter. But I want to give this to Matthew. I can hit Alt-M and say publish. And it will go and pull that in. And now on my clipboard, if I paste, it didn't do it because I think I misused it. Unfortunately, wants to. Oh, you know what? Let me include.
I have a quick question. It comes up a lot, surprisingly. Also, I have a video about this too. I think I'm starting to forget all the videos I've done. I have a guy who's just wanting to know, is AutoHotkey's legit? I mean, yeah, it's just an executable. It's great people. If you're going to download someone's script off the internet, yeah, be a little careful. You never know what's going to happen. But if you're ever writing your own script, hopefully you trust yourself. So yeah, I'll send a video that goes a little more into that, just to answer that question real quick.
And I think a lot of people also get confused whenever you say things are open source. And I don't know if that's, I mean, but
yeah, just make sure I would a legit website.
Yeah.
Don't go to AutoHotkeyCracked.com or something.
You go to GitHub where everything is transparent.
Yeah.
Well, I would just be curious what he meant by legit.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
Is he meaning, should he be embarrassed if he's using it? And will other programmers laugh at him? Is he meaning, is it like, I think the way you were taking it, Tom, is it just a bunch of hackers that, have hacked stuff, and some people, some programmers especially, will say they hate AutoHotkey because it's, it's not strict enough, and it's way too, non-conformed.
Like version 2 is definitely improved on.
That's what I tell programmers, is say, just use version 2 and you'll be much happier with it.
If you're a noob, use version 1.
Yeah. Well, to rephrase that, Tom, just slightly, if you're new to programming, right?
Well, yeah, new to
1.1. Yeah, absolutely. But if you're already a programmer, then start with version 2 and you'll be happy, right? But because that's where, and I think you and I talked some about it, Tom, is like the version, the version 2 steps away from some of the nice and easiness of version 1 and and forgivingness, and this and that, and which is one of the things that pulls people in, like the stuff Matthew's doing. He doesn't have to be a programmer, and he's sending stuff. He's like, hey, you know what? It's a little quirky, but it's helping,
Yeah. And to help with that point, I mean, at work I do use Python and I do use PowerShell and I use all these other, but AutoHotkey is, if you do what I do for a living, you're going to be in Windows, and why not use it? Because it is freaking awesome compared to the time you're going to put in doing this, trying to do the same thing with Python.
Totally, 100%. That's the thing, is AutoHotkey, it's one is niches. It's super easy for noobs to learn, right? You never program. But B is it connects to Windows like no other program does. The Windows API and different approaches, so easy to do so many things. Because I for a while there, I was working at TI, and my boss said, well, no one here knows AutoHotkey, and if you get hit by a truck, who's going to replace you? So can you do the stuff in Python? I'm like, I can start learning Python. And so I did. And I'm like, it would take me 3 to 4 times as long to do the stuff in Python as it did to program, not the work, not the executing, but the developing. And then after a while, I said, look, why, any programmer that knows how to program in Python or anything can step into AutoHotkey tomorrow and tweak my code, like no problem whatsoever. But it was just like, why am I, you'd want to send, like, use a hotkey or to send keystrokes or something in Python. You can do those things, but boy, it ain't easy.
Well, I've learned, I mean, just like I feel very much a noob in all of it, but I've learned that Python and AutoHotkey can go together like peanut butter and jelly. They really do. Whenever you've got certain scripts, there's no reason you can't write a script that pulls in AutoHotkey functions and vice versa. I
have a post in the forum where I did that. From within Python, I use AutoHotkey to trigger stuff. And within AutoHotkey, I think I used slice or something from Python to dissect, a string variable. But I was using them both because they have APIs that can talk to each other, which is amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Is there anything else? Anyone?
Just catching up here on my chats, but I think I'm good. I think I've answered everything. Anybody have any last minute questions? If not, we'll be back next Friday, 11 a.m. as always. And as you saw, we had some friends join in, help them out. So we always have that option too. If you versus chatting, maybe it's, like his thing was probably would have been a nightmare to try to text to us in the chat. So having him on video was very helpful. Hey, if you don't want to show your face, Mike's fine too. So we understand some stuff can be a little too complicated to write out an entire paragraph. I don't want to read an entire paragraph, so yeah.
Hey, Jean, just while you're here, was there anything in QAP, any updates or anything that's different?
No, not this week.
Okay.
I learned this week.
So for those that aren't aware, quick access pop-up that's what Jean is the author of. It's written in AutoHotkey, which I was going to say it's a coincidence, but it's not a coincidence just because how Jean and I know each other. But you don't have to know AutoHotkey is the point. Like, it's for people who are not yet into programming, I'd say, but I still use it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times a day I use it because it's crazy. That's a lot. It saves me a ton of time. It's a great tool, but he's the author and developer of it.
I use it a lot for my YouTube channel.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
And my expertise is more in developing program than automating other programs. So what you did today was not my area of expertise. So that's why I appreciated looking at you working on that.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I'm kind of I know a lot of different approaches on stuff, and I can dabble, but I'm not a programmer, right? And that's where, you know, I'll hire people for the actual coding work. But and we all, the thing is, there's so much to know, right? We all have our niches and what we do, and this is what Jackie and I have been saying a lot is have a couple people that you talk to about what you're doing and how you're doing it, because even John, and he's a far better programmer than I am, but he'll say like, hey, I'm trying to do this. How would you take this approach? And it's just, it really helps to talk to someone else and bounce ideas around, because you get inspired, or they have something that you didn't even know that was existed. Like
or you share your frustration with someone else.
At a bare minimum, right?
You can ventilate.
Yeah. That pop-up menu, not quick access pop-up, not John's tool, but he was trying to do dark themed stuff, and someone, you know, I think pointed you to it, right, Sean, of the pop-up menu by Dio. Does that sound right? But it's you can have dark menus, which we had never. We're like, what? This already been solved. It's awesome.
I had a few questions come in that are all exactly the same. I think are pretty funny. So the first one is, did we create AutoHotkeys?
Yes, we did. Thank you. No,
No, we did not. There's a few people. AutoHotkeys was originally originally there was AutoIt, and there was kind of a discussion between, you know, some of the people creating it. They wanted to keep it closed source, but some people wanted it open source. So there was a split, and that's how AutoHotkeys was born, is because those people wanted it to be open source, and they wanted to have it more like, you know, well, hotkey functionality.
Right.
So
yeah, Chris Mallett. Yeah.
I wish I invented it. I just use it a lot is all. And I have a YouTube channel, so I'm just familiar with it is all.
Yeah. And then after some time, he kind of got, you know, not tired of it or whatever, but Lexico, well, several other people and stuff, and Lexicos is the main developer now, and there's other people to help him. But yeah, it's developed by, and it's open source, to your point. Now, the other one that confuses people is, especially because people in the forum, you know, are very particular about this. There's this thing of like, some people believe you can't make money with AutoHotkey, and that's absolutely not true. What it is we can't sell the source code and say that it's our, you know, source code stuff, right? But you can perfectly fine to make programs with it and sell programs with it. And, you know, I you know, it's one of the things I do is more so make money, making scripts for people. I use it more for myself, for my own businesses, but that's one of the things we do.
I do a lot of freelance work, you know, and use AutoHotkeys when I possibly can. Yep, looks like that's it on my side.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. It's fun. I hope it was helpful.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining.